As well as providing connectivity services, Vodafone also produces its own range of products for customers, working closely with leading global brands and commercial partners. Joining me now to discuss this in more detail is Tom Guy, Chief Product Officer of Vodafone Smart Tech. Tell me, why does a telco have a Chief Product Officer? Because this is something we'd normally associate with tech companies like Apple or other device manufacturers.
Well, in a way, it's quite good that you've said that actually, because I think Vodafone on some of these very nascent categories are really wanting to take more control over the customer experience. That end-to-end customer experience, and and that's why we've created a product design studio. That's why we've got obviously myself as a product officer. But we've started to bring in a lot of that skill set to allow us to create and build those products end to end. As I say, in some of these categories that are a little bit newer around the smart tech world and the smart home world.
So where do you start when designing a new product for the market? Are you solving problems for your customers, or are you enhancing the experience?
Well, I'd say it's probably a bit of both. I think the answer to where do you start is always with the customer. Just identifying what that customer problem is. Through just standard research on gaps in the market, and then a lot of one-to-one customer lab interviews and seeing people how they start to touch and feel and use your products. That often brings up other features that you need to think about and start to put into the product after the initial launch. But really is about focusing on that customer problem, but to the point where you never lose sight of it. It almost becomes your North Star. And at Vodafone Smart Tech, we use something called a goal-oriented roadmap, which we always come back to, and it just sets our goal and our key themes around what is it we're trying to do for the customer. What is it? How do we want them to feel after we've finished, when they've used the product? And ultimately, what is that problem? What is that problem we're trying to solve? We'll make sure we solve it in the most elegant way.
And how do you select which partners and brands to align and partner with?
So I think it's probably twofold. I think there's partners that like a Disney, that will help and push a product into a different space. And then there's partners that just enhance where we're trying to get to, and whether that's we want to connect to a device in a home or out of the home that we know that will create a better experience, or even partners that we know that will complement what we've got internally. So, for example, before and at Vodafone, we're working with Yves Bahar, who's probably one of the most influential industrial designers in the world, just to help push our thinking in some of these new and exciting categories, to make sure that we're doing the best possible job for the customer when we create these amazing experiences.
How does Vodafone get return on investment by having its own products to offer customers over and above selling them connectivity, when most telcos are trying to sell services and not products?
Well, I would say, first and foremost, a product can be anything. A product is, for us, is the device, it's the hardware, it's the software. Let's say the application. It could be the voice services that would be through someone like Google or Alexa. It's obviously the connectivity, as you quite rightly mentioned. But we've got other services in and around, making sure that you're aware that everything's okay in your home, for example. The whole thing together is the product. And then when you couple that with an amazing place of where to buy the product, amazing customer service. If something that you need to ask extra questions, or something doesn't go quite right with the product, all of that, you look at that as a single journey, and that whole thing becomes the product. And obviously, if you can build something that you believe is solving that problem, adds magic to a customer's lives, then that's ultimately what you're after, and that's ultimately what we believe then the customer will pay for. What we don't just want to be is just adding one service to one product. We really want these things to sit all together. We often talk about creating things that are effortless, and that's a design trait that runs through the whole of the Vodafone Smart Tech team, and you'll see that a lot with our product roadmap, that started back in July and goes through in full force into 2021.
And what product are you working on now that excites you the most?
But I think anything where we really feel like we're solving that customer problem, I think any designer probably answers it the same way, which is, we really do want to change customers' lives, we want to improve customers' lives, and I think where technology can have a helping hand in that. So there's categories around, is my family safe? I think there's a big one around allowing our elderly loved ones to age at home. I think there's a huge part for technology and design together to come together to really solve quite a critical point, I think, for a lot of people, and I think that would be an amazing product. But Vodafone Smart Tech, we've got huge amounts on the roadmap. It's exciting to be end-to-end designing. In an organisation such as Vodafone, with obviously the reach across so many different territories.
Well, we look forward to seeing what products are coming out of Vodafone. But if we look back through history, if we look around us, is there a product out there that you wish that you had designed?
There's many. I think in a lot of discussions and talks, I'll always come back to someone like Apple. I think that they've done an amazing job, and it's a very easy example. But there were smartphones around before Apple. There were people downloading apps before Apple, but they just made everything effortless. They just made everything super easy to do, and solved all of those pain points in the background of why it would be so easy to buy things on your phone or download things onto your phone to extend it out. But I think there are some great examples as you go through. One book I always talk about that I've really enjoyed from a product point of view was the founder of Starbucks. And you just think about when they first started, the product that they created and the market they were disrupting was coffee that was being bought for a few cents a cup, and often a refill cup. Going from that to something that was a highly sought after, plus $2 a go, it was a completely different experience. And again, as a product and as a product disruptor, I think that was a huge learn, a huge step forward.
Tom, good talking with you, and thank you very much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you very much.